Now, as you know from TTM, let's move to our TTM chart. Ooh, I forgot which one it was now. I think it was this one. Here we go. For TTM, they require the inverted commas liquidity. So we need the market to go down and come up, so it makes a swing low, and in theory there will be stop loss orders pulled up underneath here. How many? You can't tell. As you remember from our previous discussions, you cannot tell if you cannot see the market orders. No one in the world, no one knows how many there are. As these like I said, these are held the brokers, they're not in the market. No one knows if there's lots or little. So the market comes up, and now we needed to come back down, trade through here to our FEG. So what happens is, so then this is what they call the liquidity, and they're referring to the little pool of stop loss orders underneath our structure. So market comes down, comes down, comes down. As price trades below this low, the stop losses go off. So they become, as these were longs, the shorts will be sell market orders. So the stop losses go off. Our little market auction process is continuing. And in this case, it appeared that we can't see in detail, obviously, but in general, the market punched right through it. And so, again, you can ask the question here, was this high liquidity or low liquidity? You still can't really tell. Technically, you could say it's high liquidity because the market sliced right through it. The amount of sell market orders going off the stop losses easily overwhelmed the rest in buy orders, and the market went down. But you can't really tell, because you need to look at the actual executions to be able to tell that. In any case, so in any case, these orders are now executed and gone. Price comes down into the FEG, stopped here at what happened to be the day's value area low, if I recall, which is where price turned. And so did a little bounce, came back down. Sellers were cut off here. They couldn't see. Again, here we had either an absorption or a lack of selling interest. Sellers couldn't, no one wanted to sell below here, and so the market started to creep up. We gave us our reaction, and the market continued. Now, you will see here where I'm asking the questions on the liquidity in the group, because as you can see from this demonstration, these orders executed here had nothing whatsoever to do with the rest of this. Now, well, apparently not. As I said, I've asked the question numerous times, and I'm very open to an explanation of exactly what the relationship is. But as our entries are usually a distance away from the swing low, ironically, we require a sweep and a pass right through there in order to actually get to our entry. So now, again, this is the other thing where I think where they talk about the liquidity, where I think it's inverted, is they will talk about, you'll see if we refer now to your gold trade from yesterday. I think it was when I say yesterday, I think it was Monday, the 6th. Yes, it was Monday. Now, this was the gold short that was on the group yesterday, on Monday. That stopped out. It probably wasn't an ideal TTM trade for other reasons, but once again, the comment in the group was that it failed because of low liquidity. Now, again, there wasn't a great structure here, which you tend to need. But again, there would have been stop losses over here for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. This would have been a swing low, and there would have been some stop losses here. Now this is where I find it gets ironic, because let's assume there's going to be a lot fewer stop losses than at these major swings. So in terms of ICT of liquidity, there'll be less stop losses, low liquidity, as the guy said, low liquidity. So low liquidity means few market orders. Now as you know from our discussion on auction market process, few market orders means it's much easier for the rest in orders to. I'm not going to go back for the rest in orders to absorb it. So Whereas if there was a high liquidity, in other words, lots of stop losses, it's much easier for it to smash straight through the limit orders and or create slippage. So you see, I think I forgot to mention in the previous video, slippage, of course, is when you get slippage when there's a lot of aggressive little guys come in who want to buy your apples, but very few apples on offer. So my example, when the market shot up, and that could have created slippage for the guys behind him. So if this was a high liquidity here, and there were a lot of stop losses, but not very many people interested in putting sell limit orders, sorry, what would happen? The aggressive sellers would overwhelm sorry, I'm getting myself confused now. The aggressive buyers would overwhelm the sell limits and price would spike up, which is exactly what you don't want to happen. So I find that very ironic. A low liquidity here is actually better because the less buy market orders there are, the easier it is for them to be absorbed, the more likely it is for the market to move down. So like once again, there seems to be a bit of this discussion of liquidity seems to be back to front. Now, I don't believe that's what happened in this case because this spike up happened here, half an hour or more after all these stop losses went off. The stop losses went off here in this bar, and so I don't believe that was the case. But that is, of course, what would happen if there was a high liquidity, a large amount of stop losses there. So, well, that's really all there is to it. Unfortunately, I've got nothing more to add until, as I said, I've got 4 open questions on the group for someone to explain to me exactly how they are seeing this in the candlestick chart A and how it's impacting our entries. So I think you need to, by and large, pay no attention to the liquidity. I honestly think people are just saying the liquidity because it's a cool sounding thing to say. I think until proven otherwise. This gold trade wasn't a bad trade at all. This was not a great entry. These weren't great entry bars. You could see there was still quite a few. The buyers were still managing to push it quite up a bit. There was a monthly VWAP here. I was short here. I had my stop loss up here. But this FVG was where you shorted. And that is not great. When there's another one above it, the market tends to move up into the one above. No idea what caused the spike. I had a stop loss just here. I just survived it. But when you get a sort of an inconsequential FEG like this with a more consequential one above, it's better to wait, particularly when your reaction isn't very strong. Like I said, there's a good reason to be short here off the monthly VWAP, but from a TTM perspective, this is not a great reaction. This bar would have been a much better reaction, but if I was trading pure TTM, I would have traded this bar here for short. In terms of, I know I said so I think you just sort of need to, for the time being, disregard the liquidity, but this trades do seem to work better, in my very limited experience, when they are shaped like this NASDAQ trade. So I think it seems to be more of a pattern filter, as I commented recently, like, there's a head and shoulders, etc., etc., these patterns in the market. This is a pattern that eliminates all the fair value, because there are fair value gaps everywhere. They don't mean very much, or they don't mean anything. So in order we can't trade a reaction at every fair value gap, and when there's nothing, we've got no other tools to add any context or rules into the market, this becomes a pattern trade. So we have our pattern and then the potential reaction. And like I said, at this point, I wouldn't stress the liquidity until, of course, until we can come back with an answer, and I will then revise the video. All right, well, don't think that was very useful, but that's about the only insights I've got. Cool, cheers.